welcome to another edition of the Wake and J College Football Show. Today is your Week 13 recap. Um, Typical episode, recapping the games, obviously, from this weekend. Uh, we'll take a look at the conference races, see where everybody's sitting, who still has a chance to win, and whatnot, and then recap the bets, which we did good this week. And then we'll finish off with Dude, Are You High? So, let's not waste any more time. Let's have a good wake and bake sesh, and let's get right into it. All right. Oh, goodness. Okay. So, week 13. I mean, I mentioned this when I previewed this weekend. Not my favorite weekend of college football. Every year, I'm never a fan of. It's not even that the SEC is scheduling cupcake games, it's the fact that they're doing it this late in the season that I'm not a fan of. But, so, not going to touch on a lot of SEC games today for that reason alone. Um, yeah, just I hate when they do that, but it still ended up being a decent college football weekend. So let's get right into it. Talk about some of the bigger games of the weekend. We will start with Missouri and Oklahoma. Oklahoma comes away with the 17-6 win. When I put out the preview for this game, at that time, Bo Pribula was listed as doubtful. He was then upgraded to questionable, and then after Friday's walkthrough practice, whatever you want to call it, was upgraded to starting essentially. So that should have played a factor into my preview. You know, if it had come out a little earlier, turns out it didn't matter that he was playing. Um, if you want to beat this Oklahoma defense, you have to be able to throw the ball. Mizzou's just not equipped to do that. Matt Zollers is not the quarterback to do that. He didn't even play. Bo Pribula is not the greatest thrower, anyways. You know, wasn't able to take advantage. Oklahoma's run defense is very good. Mizzou's strength on offense is obviously running the ball. They could not get anything going on the ground. Just brutal. Ahmad Hardy, 17 carries, 57 yards. Mizzou as a team had 35 carries for 70 yards. That's 2 yards a carry. That's terrible. That's really, really bad. Now, it's another week. It's another just blah performance from Oklahoma's offense. Now, Oklahoma fans are going to tell you, doesn't matter, our defense is that great that it doesn't. We're gonna we're gonna go far in the playoffs, potentially win it all. I I don't see that happening. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, again, once they get into the playoffs, they're going to be facing some teams who can really sling the ball. I know they beat Tennessee, who threw it on them pretty well. They beat Alabama, who in the first half threw it on them pretty well. They lost to Ole Miss, who threw the ball pretty well against them. Um, I I think this offense is a liability, too much of a liability to win it all. I think the defense is good enough. The defense and special teams, honestly, have won them games and kept them in games and put them in position to win games. But the offense has been so brutal. In this game, John Mateer hit Isaiah Stania, I don't know if I said that correctly, for an 87-yard touchdown, like midway through the second quarter. Those 87 yards, that was nearly a third of the total yards that Oklahoma got in this game. It was half of John Mateer's passing total. He finished the game 14 of 30 for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. You take out that one that one completion to Isaiah Stania, and he finishes with like 86 passing yards. Just not good. This offense is not good. And again, I know Oklahoma fans, you're going to tell me, doesn't matter, doesn't matter. This defense is great. This defense is great. It does matter. And I promise you, it's going to bite you in the ass. Who knows? Maybe I'm going to look stupid now and Oklahoma wins it all. But I can't with that offense. Um, Oklahoma is 9-2. They do still have LSU remaining on their schedule, and I would be stupid. I would be high, which if I said that I don't like Oklahoma in that game. I obviously like them against LSU at home. If they win that, they're in. Once they're in, though, how far do they go? I feel like they lose right away. Depends on their matchup, depends on who they get. But if they get a team that has a great defense and can throw the ball a little bit, they might be in trouble. Number 15 USC at number 7 Oregon. Oregon comes away with a 42-27 win. I mean, I was wrong. I said that USC would cover in this one. I knew the one the one thing I did get right is that I said in every situation I threw out that could happen in this game, Oregon was always going to score a lot. I did not have any faith in USC's defense to stop Oregon, and that proved to be right. Where this game was going to flip on its head was whether or not Oregon's pass defense is legit. Now, USC still, Jada Mayava, I shouldn't just say USC because it was Jada Mayava as the only quarterback, did throw it for just over 300 yards. And so while, yes, that's not great, and yes, USC did score 27 and get that 300 through the air, it didn't come easy per se. It was a lot of throw it up and let my receiver make a play. There was a few that throw it up and hope for pass defensive pass interference, and that happened a couple times. A couple times throw it up and just let my receiver make a play, and they did a couple of times. So there was a lot of that. It didn't come easy. So I will give Oregon a lot of credit for that. It was not easy for Jada Mayava to get all those yards. Um, but on top of that, USC just had absolutely no run game. Just no run game to speak of. And I didn't expect them to, honestly. I really didn't think they were going to be able to run the ball on Oregon's defense, but they needed to if they really wanted to win this game. If the passing game wasn't as explosive as normal, um, they had 52 total rushing yards in this game, less than 2 yards per carry. I think it was 1.9, but still less than two. USC's officially out of the playoffs. Um, I didn't. I would have been shocked if they actually got there because I did think Oregon was going to win this game. I just figured that USC would keep it within 10 points. And they kept it close for a good chunk of the game. I mean, it was a one-score game many times. Oregon would get out to a two-score lead, boom, USC brings it to a one-score. That punt return touchdown definitely, that I think took a lot of wind out of their sails. When Oregon got that punt return touchdown, I think that hurt them a lot. But it was a one-score game a lot of the time, but I just never, maybe it's just me, but never really felt like Oregon was in danger of losing that game. But yeah, USC officially out of the playoffs. Oregon is looking right because here's the thing: they're injured. They're down some pass catchers, linemen. They're an injured team, and they're still winning. Dante Moore is very good. He really is. I'll say it. He was great against Iowa. Even if terrible weather, did it when it mattered most. He was great against Iowa. Great against Minnesota. Obviously, who hasn't been? Um, And then he was 22 of 30, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. Kenyon Sadiq, let's be honest, Big Ten tight end of the year, maybe best tight end in the country. 6 catches, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns. Noah Whittington, 19 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown. This is a very good Oregon team, and it feels like if they can get fully healthy for the playoffs, watch out. They could be a threat. I mean, obviously they're going to be a threat. They're 10-1 and the number 7 team in the country, but they could be even scarier, which is scary to think about. Number 11 BYU, 26 Cincinnati 14. Going into this game, I had a lot of concerns on Cincinnati. I was worried about their ability to control the clock 'cause they've been absolutely terrible at it. I was worried about their ability to stop the run because they have been porous as of late, nearly 200 yards a game over the last five. I was nervous about Cincinnati's offense as a whole, more specifically Brendan Sorsby, because when they have to play a good defense, which BYU has, the offense struggles to get going, but mainly Brendan Sorsby struggles to get going, and he has struggled when he's had to go up against a competent defense. In this game, Cincinnati only scored 14 points, which is not great. Um, but they did have, and they had 387 yards of offense, which is better than what they've done against good defenses. Brendan Sorsby had 338 of those 387 yards. He did not have a bad game. He didn't have a great game, but it wasn't a bad game. So I'll give him that. They lost time of possession, not shocking. Um, and like I mentioned, defense was allowing nearly 200 yards a game on the ground over the last five. LJ Martin went for 220 yards, 222 yards on his own. Uh, just a lot of self-inflicted wounds from Cincinnati in this one. First of all, allowing allowing LJ Martin to go for 222 yards, can't be doing that. They did have a couple of costly turnovers, a couple of costly penalties, missed 3 field goals, which their kicker had been great going into this game, and then misses 3 field goals, 42, 40, and 48 yards. They got 7 points off of 3 red zone trips. I mean, this is just you start listing all those mistakes, and I'm you know shout out to BYU for capitalizing and forcing these mistakes. This is a game that Cincinnati wishes they had back. If I'm being completely honest, they wish they had this one back. Uh, Kansas State actually let me go back to it. BYU. They waited there in the Big 12 championship game. And I mean, they're just on the outside looking in for the playoffs. This was a great win for them. I feel like I'm just more saying how Cincinnati gave this one away. Shout out to BYU, Bear Bachmeyer. What a gritty game. LJ Martin, 222 yards on the ground, like I mentioned. It was a very good win overall for BYU. Cincinnati's not necessarily an automatic win, even though I thought it was. Um, so shout out to BYU for coming away with that win. One loss going into the final weekend of the season. Winning, you're in the Big 12 championship. Kansas State. This was a crazy game. Kansas State 47, Utah 51. I mean, I did not see this coming. And I, you'd be lying if you said you did. Even Kansas State fans won't admit that they saw this coming or can't admit. Utah was down 31 to 21 at half. They took back the lead, then went down 47 to 35 with 7 minutes left in the game. Kansas State went for a 2-point conversion. It was Avery Johnson threw an interception. It was returned all the way for 2 points for Utah. They proceed to get the ball after that, go 75 yards in 12 plays, score a touchdown, force a 3-and-out, go right back down the field, 7 plays, 70 yards, score a touchdown. And then Kansas State gets the ball back, ends up throwing an interception, and it's game over. What a great game. If you hate defense, if you just despise defense and you like to actually watch offense, what a great game. Over 1,000 yards, actually over over 1,100 yards of a combined offense in this one. Um, and here's the thing: the fact that Kansas State had nearly 600 yards of offense against this Utah defense, that's shocking in its own. Uh, Joe Jackson, 24 carries, 293 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Absolutely insane. I did not see this coming from Kansas State. Shout out to them. That's a tough loss. You get up to a double digit lead twice and then give away the lead. Uh, that's gotta hurt. Devon Dampier and Bird Ficklin combined for just over 20 carries. I think it was 21 for 148 and 5 touchdowns. Dampier added another, what was it, 100, 250 through the air and a touchdown. Um, what an exciting game. It really was. Again, if you hate defense, this was the game for you. Uh, Utah just there we right there with BYU, just on the outside looking in on the playoff. They needed this one. If they had lost this game, they were officially done. So they keep their slim playoff hopes alive. Whew. Speaking of playoff hopes, somebody's were just completely dashed. Number 16, Georgia Tech, just losing a tough one to Pitt, 42-28. Georgia Tech needed this one. They needed it bad. And I mean, we kind of saw this coming. They lost to NC State. They'd been flirting with disaster for a month now, at least. This defense has just been absolutely awful. They struggled against Boston College. They had to come from behind to beat Boston College. No team should be doing that, especially a team in contention for the playoff and for the ACC championship. Um, Pitt with over 400 yards of offense. The offense themselves scored 35. Defense scored another 7 to bring it to 42. Pitt was out to a 28 to nothing lead in this game, and shout out to Georgia Tech for fighting back and making it a one-score game in the fourth quarter. Every time I preview a Georgia Tech game, I always say if Haynes King is playing, they have a shot. And he is part of the reason that they lost, because he had 2 terrible interceptions. One was a 100-yard return for a touchdown. The other one, a bad throw. Uh, gave gave Pitt great field position, which they turned into 7 points. 14 points off of turnovers for Pitt. They won by 14 points. This is a game that Georgia Tech really wishes they had back for many reasons, because they absolutely needed this one. And I guess it's technically not official yet, but it's official. Georgia Tech's not making the playoffs. Um, that's a bummer, because that offense is good. Haynes King is good. I like Georgia Tech. I do think they're a fun team, but that defense, they have just been so bad. But yeah, Haynes King, 2 just terrible interceptions. Let's touch on this one from Friday night, just briefly because it was very funny. Florida State at NC State. NC State wins 21-11. Florida State just did not want to win this game. NC State struggled too. I mean, it was 14-3, and Florida State took the lead in the fourth quarter. Not didn't take the lead. I'm sorry. Brought it to 14-11. Gave it back to NC State. NC State couldn't do anything. Punted it away, and this is where it hit the fan. Bounces off a Florida State defenders or punt returners or whoever's head. Shot back like 40 yards. Punter recovers it. NC State gets the ball back. Can't do anything again. Punted away. And I think it was Squirrel White, just right off his face mask. Again, muffs the punt. NC State recovers. Finally takes advantage. Scores a touchdown to bring it to 21-11. And then Florida State couldn't do anything after that. But just a comedy of errors. NC State just couldn't capitalize, punted away. Florida State just gives it right back. Couldn't capitalize, give it away. Florida State just gives it right back. Just finally capitalizes. Florida State just handing that one away. All right, let's get it out of the way. Minnesota Minute. I'm so upset with this game. Uh, I I'm not a yeller. I don't yell at the TV. I yelled at the TV quite a bit in this one. Oh man, there's no excuse. This was not a game that Minnesota should have lost. Just an absolutely abysmal performance from that defense, especially the secondary. This is the 3rd straight week that a quarterback has torched this secondary. Michigan State did it. Dante Moore did it. I can't pronounce the Michigan State quarterback's name. And now this week, Preston Stone, who, by the way, had not thrown for 200 yards against a Power 4 opponent this season, and had not even thrown for 300 in any game this season. And he threw for 305 yards and 2 touchdowns, was 25 of 30. Absolutely disgusting from the Gophers. Hayden Elligan and Griffin Wilde, 18 receptions, 238 yards, and a touchdown. Over 500 yards of offense for Northwestern. Just an abysmal performance from this Gopher defense. Now I'm going to try to be a little positive here. Coy Parrish in the return game. Return game has not been a thing for Minnesota for years. It's just been a brutal performance year after year after year, and so far this season has not really been anything. Coy Parrish had 6 kick returns for 230 yards, including like a 93-yarder that got all the way down to like the 5. It was about time that we saw some life from the return game because I'm not joking, been years. Offense overall, I mean, was pretty good. Run game, still But Drake Lindsay, 20 of 30, 264 yards, 4 touchdowns. Javon Tracy, 4 receptions, 87 yards, 3 touchdowns. I just an absolutely brutal performance from the defense. Tough to watch. I'm not a yeller, but I was yelling at the TV. And I mean, before this weekend, I was confident that not only was this going to be a win, but that Wisconsin is going to be a win next week. And we'll get into it in a little bit, but I'm not convinced that Wisconsin is a guaranteed win at this point. Gophers are 6-5. I had their floor this year as 7-5. I mean, 7-5 is still very much a shot because Wisconsin is not good, even though it's not a guaranteed win at this point. But yeah, just a very upsetting, unnecessary, shouldn't have happened loss. All right, Baylor and Arizona. Arizona with a 41-17 win. I mean, Baylor led this game 17-14 going into half, and then that was it. That's all she wrote for Baylor. 135 total yards, 3 turnovers in that second half, one of which was returned for a touchdown. I said this going into the game. Arizona, very underrated. They're not getting enough love, and they didn't get enough love after their win against Cincinnati. Hopefully, they get enough love now because they are 8-3 going into play Arizona State, who is also 8-3. That's going to be a fantastic game. Rank them or we riot. Let's just say that because they deserve to be ranked at this point. Also, Baylor. Maybe it's because there's so many big teams looking for coaches right now, so I guess that's part of it. But I mean, Dave Aranda's coming back next year. Really, you're really gonna bring him back because what has he done to really prove that he should be the coach? He's a defensive coordinator by trade, and his defense has been awful the last 2 seasons, especially this season. Again, maybe it's because there are so many big teams looking for coaches, and that's why they're bringing him back, and he's just going to get fired next year. But I think that's crazy. Michigan State 17, Iowa 20. I mean, Iowa, what the heck? What is going on? Uh, Mark Gronowski, he is just a bizarre quarterback. He is a quarterback that just will suck for the first 3 quarters. It's just awful. And then all of a sudden, fourth quarter turns on and he's got it. I don't know what it is, but he's got it. And in that fourth quarter, again, he was great this week. Um, Gotta be. Um, Iowa was down 17-7 going into the fourth quarter, and then scored 13 unanswered, including the game-winning field goal with 2 seconds left in the game, or with no time left. From a minute 13 left in the third quarter till the end of the game, Iowa had 172 yards. Before that minute 13 mark in the third quarter, they had 129 total. Absolutely insane. Also during that final stretch, Mark Gronowski, 7 of 11, 123 yards and a touchdown. Before that minute 13 mark of the third quarter, he was 5 of 11 for 24 yards and an interception. That's terrible. He was terrible for 3 quarters, and then that fourth quarter, and he just turned it on. Just and also they were down 17-7 going into that fourth quarter. This is not going to shock anybody. Their one touchdown in that game so far up to that point was a punt return touchdown. The offense didn't even score the touchdown. Just an absolutely bizarre game from Iowa, but also at the same time, not a shocking game from Iowa. Um, Mark Gronowski, just a bizarre quarterback. He's got the it factor in that fourth quarter. Nebraska 10, Penn State 37. If you watched or listened to my preview, this is what I told you was going to happen in this game. Um, Penn State ran it all over this Nebraska defense. Nebraska cannot stop the run. Singleton and Allen combined for 32 for 204 yards and 4 touchdowns, over 6 yards a carry. Uh, Singleton was also Penn State's leading receiver. Just absolute domination from start to finish. Penn State scored on their first 5 drives of the game, um, and that went into the third quarter. Nebraska had no answer for them. TJ Lateef, he did not look nearly as good as he did against UCLA, but that's okay. I mean, that is to be expected. People for some reason forget Penn State still has a lot of talent on this team. They're still fighting. Five of that 6 game losing streak, or just their 6 games that they've lost, 5 of them were by 1 score. This is still a good, competitive Penn State team. It's just been a brutal way for the season to go. Just a few unlucky breaks. Um, Penn State is now 5-6, and they finish on the road at Rutgers. And I've been saying this for weeks because, again, a lot of talent on that roster. They are still fighting. A bowl game is still on the table, and honestly, I think is very likely at this point because Rutgers is not very good. Arizona State 42, Colorado 17. When I previewed this game, brought up the usual stats that Colorado sucks at stopping the run. They suck at stopping mobile quarterbacks, and so I figured as long as he doesn't turn the ball over 4 or 5 times, Jeff Sims was going to dominate this game. And I was wrong. Jeff Sims did not dominate this game. He didn't really even do much on the ground. He did have 2 or 3 turnovers, though. Raleek Brown, though, 22 carries, 255 yards, and a touchdown. Arizona State as a whole finished with 355 yards on the ground. Now, Arizona State, they won this game 42-17. It was 21-17 going into that fourth quarter. They had 4 turnovers in this one. They tried to give it away. They really did. And lucky for them, Colorado just could not capitalize on those 4 turnovers. Of those 4 turnovers, Colorado turned that into 3 total points. Arizona State, they keep their Big 12 hopes alive because, yes, there is still a path that Arizona State could win the Big 12. But yeah, just Colorado. They're a dead, broken team. A few other scores to touch on. Rutgers 9, Ohio State 42. Ohio State's without their top 2 receivers, doesn't matter. Bo Jackson, 19 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. Rutgers with 147 total yards of offense. I mean, this was just, even if their receivers didn't play, you knew they weren't going to lose this game to Rutgers. Number 18, Michigan 45, Maryland 20. I mean, I was wrong with this one. I said there's a chance that Maryland could win this game, that Maryland would cover this game, and I was wrong. Michigan with 443 yards of offense, 228, I believe, on the ground, 12 of 14 on third down. Just this one was never in doubt for them. Number 13, Miami at Virginia Tech. I put Miami on upset alert because Mario Cristobal's Carson Beck. Every game is losable at this point. But 34-17 win. People seem to make this game seem like it was close because Virginia Tech did, I guess, recover an onside kick, and there was a chance that this could be. I never thought that Virginia Tech was going to win this game. It feels like Miami kind of had this game in check. Yes, Virginia Tech hung around. I don't know. I never thought Virginia Tech was going to win. Malachi Toney, by the way, 12 receptions, 146 yards, and a touchdown. Carson Beck did play well. 27 of 32, 4 touchdowns, 320 yards. Just, it was never in doubt, in my opinion. Kansas 14, Iowa State 38. I mean, I was right. I told you going into this one, Kansas is just an average team. Iowa State is a good team. They've just been injured. And I also told you going into this game, Carson Hansen He's been great. He has been on a roll the last 3 games, and that continued this weekend. 22 carries, 120 yards, and a touchdown. Iowa State led this game 17-0 at halftime and just never really looked back, honestly. Uh, Louisville 6, SMU 38. We'll touch more on SMU here in a little bit. But great win for SMU. Kevin Jennings, 29-37, 303 yards, 3 touchdowns. Redshirt freshman for Louisville. Miller Moss did not play in this one. Deuce Adams, 12 of 17, 94 yards. This game was over pretty quick. Kentucky 17, number 14, Vanderbilt 45. I mean, this game was early. This game was over early on, very early on. Vanderbilt led 45-3 going into the fourth quarter. Diego Pavia just went off. Uh, 33 of 39, 484 yards, 5 touchdowns and an interception. Added another 48 on the ground and another touchdown. I mean, yeah, most of Kentucky's 70% of their yards came in garbage time, essentially, is what it comes down to. 14 of their 17 points and 70% of their yards all came in garbage time. Just huge win for Vanderbilt. They are now 9-2, and it feels so weird to say that. TCU, Houston. TCU comes away with a 17-14 win. Just a brutal loss for Houston. This is a game that TCU was trying to give to them. They were trying to give Houston the win, and Houston just could not take it. 2 missed field goals in the fourth quarter, a 49-yarder and a 38-yarder. 4 turnovers from TCU. Josh Hoover with 3 interceptions. TCU, they have not looked great the last 4, 5 games, something like that. But man, Houston, TCU tried to give it to you, and you just couldn't take it from them for whatever reason. Arkansas 37, Texas 52. Just over 1,000 yards of combined offense in this one. Arch Manning with he had 6 touchdowns in this game. He had 4 through the air. He had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. Insane. Absolutely no defense played. Arch Manning finished 18 of 30, 389 yards and 4 touchdowns. Um, yeah, Arkansas. Are they even going to get a win after the month of September in this season? Or that's what 9 straight losses from them. Brutal. Delaware 14, Wake Forest 52. Wake Wake is 8-3. I'll be honest, I did not see that coming. I thought that there was a chance they could make a bowl game this year. I did not think 8-3 was on the table though. Nearly 600 yards of offense in this game. Carlos Hernandez with 5 receptions, 197 yards and 2 touchdowns. Uh, Shout out to Wake. I think you made a great hire in Jake Dickert. 8-3 going into the final week of the season. That's phenomenal. Duke 32, North Carolina 25. The streak ends. North Carolina is no longer undefeated when they score 20 plus points in a game. Duke finally ends that streak for them. North Carolina officially eliminated from bowl contention, bowl game contention. Goodness. Oklahoma State 14, UCF 17. Oklahoma State in the first half had 201 yards of offense and 14 points. The second half, they had 27 yards the rest of the game, no points. Just brutal. Brutal loss for Oklahoma State. 1-10 on the season so far. Oh goodness. Number 9, Notre Dame hosting Syracuse 70-7. There's absolutely no way that after this weekend, Jeremiah Love is not in everybody's top 5, if not top 3 for the Heisman. Because 8 carries, 171 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I don't know what else you need from him to prove that he should be a top Heisman candidate. If this doesn't show it, I think that it's rigged. It has to be. There's just no way he doesn't get in everybody's top 3. I think FanDuel already bumped him up to be in the top 3. So he better get some love moving forward. Now, Notre Dame didn't even get to 400 yards of offense, which 70 points you would think that they would. But they had 21 points, Yeah, 21 points before the offense even stepped onto the field. Two interceptions returned or fumbles returned, I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Two turnovers returned for touchdown and a punt return. And they still managed 70 points with 18 minutes time of possession, less than 400 yards of offense. Just Syracuse. As soon as Steve Angeli got hurt, just it hit the fan for them, and they just have not been the same team since. Number 21, Illinois 10, Wisconsin 27. So this is why I no longer think Wisconsin's a guaranteed win because they have won two of their last three. Both are technically ranked wins, even though those teams are no longer ranked and will not be ranked. Um, but yeah, Wisconsin scored 27 points for only the second time this season. First time against Power 4 opponents. And they still can't throw the ball. They had only, or honestly, they really can't do a lot offensively. They had two drives go over 30 yards. They had one hit 30 yards. So if we want to be technical, they had three drives that went 30 yards or more. Um, I don't know what's going on with the quarterback position at Wisconsin. It's been brutal all year. Smith and Simmons combined 11 of 15, 92 yards. They did have over 200 yards on the ground, not the quarterbacks, but Wisconsin as a whole. Darian Dupree, 17 carries, 131 yards, two touchdowns. Like I mentioned, Wisconsin with two drives that were longer than 30 yards. And if you want to be technical, three that went 30 or more. But Illinois, this Wisconsin defense, they are good. The reason why they beat Washington was because of their defense, and big reason why they won this game was because of their defense. And that's a huge reason why I'm not convinced this is going to be an easy win for the Gophers anymore. I do still think it's going to be winnable. The way that Wisconsin has shown some fight the last couple weeks, last couple games, maybe not last week against Indiana, but you know what I mean, against Washington, against Illinois, it makes me nervous. Number 20, Tennessee, 31, Florida, 11. Tennessee gets their first win in Gainesville since 2003. And this game was over so quick. Tennessee led 31-0 at halftime and then just kind of coasted out for a win after that. Scored on five of their first six drives. They only touched the ball three times in the second half. So it's not like they had the ball like six or seven times. No, they only had the ball three times in that second half. But again, game was over by halftime. Joey Aguilar, 17 of 22, 204 yards and a touchdown. Deshaun Bishop and Star Thomas combined for 33 carries, 187 yards and three touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, Florida's given up at this point, let's be honest. Can we be shocked by that? No, definitely not. But yeah, Florida's given up at this point. Um, Cal, 10, Stanford, 31. I mean, Cal with just too many self-inflicted wounds in this one. 13 penalties, 123 yards, three turnovers, two of which were returned for touchdowns. The third one gave Stanford phenomenal field position, which they turned into a touchdown. That's 21 points that Stanford had off of turnovers. Stanford won this game by 21 points. Brutal for Cal. Had that big win against Louisville, but 6-5 team, and that loss that the Gophers had to Cal is just hurting more and more by the week. Washington 48, UCLA 14. I mean, Nico Iamaleava, he got hurt in the third quarter, never returned, but it didn't matter. They were already losing 27-0 at that point, and he was 16 of 26 for 69 yards at that point in the game. Not great. UCLA with only 207 yards of offense, 2 of 13 on third down, three turnovers. Um, Damon Williams had more yards himself than UCLA had as a whole. He had 213 through the air, another 56 on the ground, four total touchdowns. Um, yeah, just this game was never in doubt. So after this weekend, some conference races got a little more clearer. Um, Indiana for the Big Ten, we got Indiana and Ohio State at 8-0 in the conference. If they win, they're in. They're competing for the title. Um, Indiana finishes at Purdue. I don't want to say that's a guaranteed win, but it's probably going to be a win. Ohio State does have to go on the road to Michigan. That's not a guaranteed win, but if they win that game, they're in. Oregon at 7-1 in the conference finishes at Washington, not a guaranteed win. Um, and Michigan is 7-1 hosting Ohio State. If Michigan beats Ohio State, they're automatically in. Um, I think Oregon needs. I don't think Oregon can compete for the Big Ten title because they lost to Indiana. So even if Indiana loses, Indiana's got that tiebreaker. So I guess if Indiana and Ohio State lose, then no, because then Michigan's in facing Indiana. Yeah, I don't think Oregon has a shot at the Big Ten title at this point. I could be wrong. People might get in the comments and correct me on that, but I don't think Oregon has a shot. In the ACC, if I'm correct, if Virginia wins and if SMU wins, they're in. I think is how that goes because Pitt only has one conference loss, but I could be wrong, but I think SMU and Virginia, if they both win, they're in. Now, if either one loses and Pitt wins, then Pitt's in. Uh, if I remember correctly. Virginia finishes at home versus Virginia Tech. Pitt has to host Miami. SMU has to go on the road to Cal. Virginia and SMU obviously have the easier paths to competing for the ACC title. Uh, Miami's not a guaranteed win for Pitt. We got Georgia Tech sitting at 6-2. I mean, they're essentially, unless some craziness happens, they're not making it. Miami's at 5-2, finishing with on the road at Pitt. If they win that game, and SMU and Virginia also lose, there's a chance. Duke, not really a chance, but they are 5-2, finishing hosting Wake Forest. In the Big 12, this one's pretty straightforward. Texas Tech and BYU are both 7-1 in conference. Both have to face West Virginia. Tech goes on the road to West Virginia. BYU hosts UCF. Both of those are probably wins. I'm not going to say guarantee, but they're probably wins. If they both win, they're in. Now, Texas Tech loses or BYU loses and Arizona State wins, then Arizona State could make the Big 12 title game. Arizona State faces Arizona to finish off the season. I'm pretty sure there's no path for Utah. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's no path for Utah. They are 6-2 in the conference. They finish on the road at Kansas because they lost to Texas Tech and they lost to BYU. So even if both of those teams lose, and let's say Arizona State loses, I still think that Tech and BYU make it over Utah because Utah lost to both of them. So I'm pretty sure it's pretty straightforward there. And then in the SEC, Texas A&M, if they win, they're in. They're on the road at Texas this next week. Georgia's already played all their conference games. They need some chaos in front of them in order to make it. Ole Miss finishes at Mississippi State. If they win, no, if it's and then Alabama, who's also 6-1 in the conference, they're on the road at Auburn. If Alabama wins, Alabama's in, and it's a Texas A&M Alabama matchup. If Alabama loses and Ole Miss wins, and I'm pretty sure Georgia might actually make it at that point. I don't know if Ole Miss can make the title. I could be wrong. I'm gonna have to look into this more. But I do know Alabama wins, Texas A&M wins. That's who the SEC championship is going to be. Betting recap. Out of all the bets that I gave out, we did pretty good. We went 7-3. Of my 5 favorites, we went 4-1. So that's a great weekend. Mizzou rushing total under 155.5 hit. Mizzou to cover did not hit, but like I said, that was an either or. If you thought Oklahoma was going to win, bet the under in rushing yards. If you thought Mizzou was going to have success on the ground, have Mizzou cover. That's kind of where I was at with that one. BYU to cover, I don't want to say never in doubt, but it was kind of never in doubt. USC to cover, that one was brutal. They were covering a lot of that game, a lot of back and forth. It was borderline. Man, that punt return touchdown just will forever haunt me for this. But USC over 250.5 receiving, that one hit. Minnesota to cover, they covered, they did not win. That sucked. Maryland to cover, that was a bad bet. Penn State to cover, -8.5, never in doubt. Penn State over 181.5 rushing, never in doubt. Arizona State over when I gave out this Arizona pick, I had told you they don't have a number out yet, but once they do, bet the over. I got it at 170.5 rushing yards. Never in doubt. Well, a little in doubt, but by the end of the game, never in doubt for sure. So yeah, 7-3 week, 4-1 on the favorites. We're turning over a new leaf. Power four moneyline parlay, however, did not hit. Minnesota and Cal just could not pull through. Iowa State and Tennessee did. Um, I'd like to hit one more power four moneyline parlay before the season ends. We got 2 more weeks to try to do that. All right, finishing up with dude. Are you high? And I had a few, I guess, nominees. I was thinking about doing. Pitt ran a ridiculous fake punt against Georgia Tech when they were up like 2 scores. Not in great. They weren't in plus territory. Um, again, up 2 scores in the fourth quarter, and they decided to run a fake punt. And if you see a screenshot of it, there's no way that Georgia Tech didn't know it was coming because the long snapper, instead of lining straight up, and then you just kind of hike it off to the side, he was completely cockeyed, facing the guy he was going to snap it to, direct snap it to for the fake. It was pretty obvious what Pitt was trying to do. So that was in contention, but it ended up. I mean, Pitt still won the game, so it didn't really cost them. So I didn't have that one. I thought about putting everybody who continues to leave Jeremiah Love out of the top 5 or top 3 for the Heisman, but it's still early on. A lot of people haven't put out or haven't talked about it because I think I saw a tweet from someone who did not have Jeremiah Love. They listed their top 3, and Jeremiah Love was not in their top 3. I just thought that was insane. But I decided to skip that. Instead, we are going to the high school ranks for this. Uh, I don't know if it was I don't know what level of coach he was, but it was for a high school in Mississippi, Brookhaven High School. I believe it was the state championship game. I could be wrong. Um, Quarterback for the opposing team. He's running, I think it was the quarterback. I guess I don't know that. Ran out of bounds, and the coach shoved the player, caught him off guard. He went down, and the player got up and threw the ball at. I don't even think he threw it at the right coach, but he threw it at the coach. First of all, yes, 100%. If you're the player, you have every right to do that. So if anybody gets after the player for throwing the ball at the coach, no, that coach had it coming for shoving the player as he was. Again, he was running out of bounds. He didn't go out of his way to like run at the coach. No, no, he was running past the coach. The coach shoved him over. If you're a head coach, it doesn't matter at what level, and the opposing team's coach makes contact with your player like that, you have every single right to go over there and kick that coach's ass because that coach had no business putting his hands on your player. Shoving him like that when the player got up and threw the ball at him. By the way, stood up, threw the ball at the coaches. Other coach who had the ball thrown at him, got in that quarterback's face and started shoving him. Terrible look. These are supposed to be leaders of young men, and you're shoving players from the other team and getting in their face. Just brutal. You can't. It's a tough look. It's not good. I'm expecting both of those coaches to probably be fired. They ended up losing the game, which is good. They don't deserve to win that game if you're shoving the other team's players like that. Saw that happen and just thought, dude, are you high? What are you doing? Anyways, thank y'all for joining me. It was an all right weekend of college football. Would have been nice if the SEC did not have cupcake games, but yeah, we're going into rivalry weekend. It's going to be exciting. We're going to have a lot of games on Friday as well as Saturday. So it's going to be a jam-packed weekend. I'm excited. I'm sure you guys are as well. I'll be back later this week to preview next weekend.